Welcome! Today's story will leave you speechless. Subscribe now and share your reaction in the comments. Here we go! My name is Amanda, I'm 38 years old, and I need to tell you about the Saturday morning that changed my entire life. It started with a knock on the door at 9 a.m. I was in the kitchen making coffee. My husband Mark was upstairs in the shower. We were planning a lazy weekend, maybe go to the farmer's market, nothing special. I opened the door and found a teenage boy standing there, maybe 13 or 14 years old, with a backpack slung over his shoulder and a nervous look on his face. He had dark hair, blue eyes, and this specific way of tilting his head that reminded me of someone, though I couldn't place who. "Can I help you?" I asked, assuming he was selling something for school or maybe lost. "Is Mark Henderson home?" he asked. "Yes, but he's in the shower. Can I help you with something? Are you one of his students?" Mark teaches high school English, so I figured maybe this was one of his kids from school. The boy shook his head. "I'm not a student, I'm his son." I actually laughed, because that was absurd, right? We didn't have kids. We'd been trying for 3 years, going through fertility treatments, dealing with miscarriages. If Mark had a son, I would definitely know about it. "I think you have the wrong house," I said. "Is this 2415 Maple Street? Mark Henderson teaches at Lincoln High School?" "Yes, but..." "Then this is the right house. I'm his son. My name is Tyler." I just stared at this kid, this stranger, standing on my porch claiming to be my husband's child. Before I could respond, I heard Mark's voice behind me. "Amanda, who is it?" He came down the stairs, towel drying his hair, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. When he saw the boy, he stopped dead in his tracks. The towel fell from his hands. His face went completely white. "Tyler," he said, and his voice cracked on the name. "Hi, Dad." Dad. This teenager just called my husband Dad. And Mark didn't correct him, didn't laugh it off, didn't say there'd been a mistake. He just stood there, frozen, looking at this boy with an expression I'd never seen before. "Mark," I said, and I barely recognized my own voice. "What is going on?" He couldn't answer. He just kept staring at Tyler. Finally, the boy spoke up. "My mom died 3 weeks ago. Car accident. I've been staying with my aunt, but she can't keep me. Social services said I needed to come live with my dad. That's you." My legs felt weak. I sat down on the stairs trying to process what was happening. Mark had a son, a teenage son. From before we met, obviously. A son he'd never mentioned. Not when we started dating. Not when we got engaged. Not when we stood at the altar and promised no secrets. Not during 3 years of fertility treatments when I was crying about not being able to give him children. Never. "You have a son," I said to Mark, and it sounded like an accusation because it was. "Amanda, I can explain," he started, but Tyler interrupted. "Do you not want me here? Because I have nowhere else to go. My mom's dead. I don't have any other family except my aunt, and she already has 4 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment. If you don't want me, they're going to put me in foster care." He said it matter-of-factly, but I could see tears starting to form in his eyes. This kid, Tyler, had just lost his mother and was standing on a stranger's doorstep asking for help. Despite my shock and anger at Mark, I couldn't send him away. "Come inside," I said. "Let's all sit down and talk." The next 2 hours were brutal. Tyler sat on our couch, Mark sat in the armchair, and I sat as far away from both of them as possible, listening to a story I never wanted to hear. Mark had gotten his college girlfriend pregnant when he was 21. Her name was Jennifer. She'd decided to keep the baby, but she didn't want Mark involved. She'd told him she was fine raising Tyler alone, that she didn't need his help financially or otherwise. Mark had been young, scared, and honestly relieved. He'd signed away his parental rights and walked away. "I was a kid myself," Mark said, not looking at me. "I didn't know what to do. She said she didn't want me in Tyler's life, so I stayed away. I sent money for the first few years, but then she told me to stop, that she had it handled. So I did." "For 14 years?" I said. "You had a child for 14 years and never mentioned it?" What was I supposed to say? "Hey, by the way, I have a son I abandoned that I never see or think about." you would have judged me. So instead you lied by omission? For our entire relationship? Through fertility treatments? Through miscarriages? I've been devastated about not having children, and you already have a child. Tyler was just sitting there, watching us fight, hugging his backpack to his chest. He looked so lost, so scared, and I felt terrible because none of this was his fault. He didn't ask to be born. He didn't ask for his mother to die. He was just a kid who needed help. I took a breath and turned to Tyler. I'm sorry. This isn't about you. You're not the problem. I'm just processing. Tell me about yourself. What grade are you in? 8th grade, he said quietly. I'm pretty good at math. I play basketball. I like to read, mostly fantasy stuff. He looked so much like Mark. Same eyes, same mannerisms, same slightly crooked smile when he talked about books. How had I not seen it immediately? Where's your stuff? I asked. Do you have more bags? This is it, he said, gesturing to his backpack. My aunt said she'd mail the rest of my things later, but this is all I could carry. Everything he owned in one backpack, his mother dead, his future uncertain. And he was sitting in a stranger's house hoping they wouldn't turn him away. Okay, I said, making a decision I knew would change everything. Okay, you can stay here. We have a guest room. It's yours now. We'll figure out the rest. Mark looked relieved. Tyler looked shocked. Really? Really. You're Mark's son, which makes you family. We don't turn away family. The first few weeks were hard. Mark and I barely spoke. We'd communicate about Tyler, what he needed for school, doctor appointments, dinner preferences, but that was it. At night, I'd sleep in the guest room since Tyler had taken it, and Mark would sleep in our bed alone. Tyler was quiet, polite, and clearly traumatized. He'd lost his mother and was living with strangers. I tried to make him feel welcome, but how do you welcome someone who's a living reminder of your husband's lies? Slowly, though, Tyler and I bonded. He'd help me cook dinner. We'd watch movies together. He told me stories about his mom, how she'd worked 2 jobs to support them, how she'd never missed one of his basketball games, how close they'd been. I started to care about this kid despite myself. Mark was awkward with him. They didn't know each other at all. Mark would try to connect over books or homework, but it was strained. Tyler called him Mark, not Dad, except for that first day. They were like strangers trying to figure out how to be father and son 14 years too late. I made Mark go to therapy with me. We needed to process this if our marriage had any chance of surviving. In therapy, Mark admitted he'd been ashamed of abandoning Tyler. He'd convinced himself it was the right choice, that Jennifer was better off raising Tyler alone. He'd buried the guilt so deep he could almost forget Tyler existed. But during the fertility treatments, I said in one session, when I was falling apart because I couldn't get pregnant, how could you not tell me then? I thought about it, Mark said, but it had been so long, and I thought if I told you, you'd leave me. You'd think I was a terrible person. So instead you let me believe we had no children when you knew you had a son out there? He didn't have a good answer for that. There wasn't one. It's been a year now. Tyler is 15. He's doing well in school, made some friends, joined the basketball team. He calls me Amanda, sometimes Mom Amanda when he's being affectionate. He still calls Mark by his first name. Their relationship is getting better, but slowly. Mark and I are in a strange place. I haven't forgiven him, but I haven't left either. Partly because of Tyler. He needs stability, not more upheaval. But partly because I've seen Mark try to make amends. He shows up for Tyler now, goes to his games, helps with homework. They're building something. The fertility treatments stopped. We couldn't afford them anymore with the expenses of raising a teenager. Plus, we have a kid now. Not the way either of us imagined, but we have one. Tyler asked me once if I regretted that he showed up that day. I told him the truth. I regret the lies and the secrets, but not him. He's a good kid who deserved better than being a secret. And he's become part of my life in ways I never expected. People ask me how I could stay with Mark after such a massive betrayal. The answer is complicated. I stayed for Tyler. I stayed because marriage is messy and complicated. I stayed because, despite everything, I still love the idiot. But the trust is broken. I don't know if we'll ever fully repair it. What I've learned is that secrets always come out. Always. You can bury them, hide them, pretend they don't exist, but eventually they surface. And when they do, the damage is so much worse than if you'd just told the truth from the start. I'm Amanda. I'm 38 years old, and this is my story about the son I never knew existed until he showed up at my door. If you're keeping secrets in your relationship, please learn from my story. The truth is hard, but lies are so much worse. Subscribe to my channel for more real-life family stories, hit the notification bell, and share your experiences in the comments. Sometimes the most complicated situations lead to unexpected families. Thank you for listening.